Hello, my name is Daryl and I'd like to welcome you to the wonderful world of sponge ball magic. This particular video is a masterclass session, so I'm going to assume that you've already studied our more fundamental Essentials in Magic video on sponge ball magic. The purpose of this video is to take those of you who already have a basic knowledge of sponge ball magic and teach you more advanced effects, techniques, and subtleties. With that said, let's get started. Before we dive into the techniques and routines, I'd like to begin with a very brief history of sponge ball magic. In the May 1971 Genie magazine column, The Vernon Touch, referring to sponge balls, Di Vernon wrote, "Now as far as I know, Count Sponges Orloff was the originator of the trick. At least he was the first one to commercialize the effect. This was back in the 20s. In his January 1986 column, Di Vernon wrote, "Prior to 1915, to my belief, there was nothing in print about forming balls from bath sponges." A New York magician by the name of Count Orloff caused quite a sensation in Saratoga Springs using only 2 of these rubber sponges. In 1926, Joe Berg introduced his cups and balls routine in which he used balls made of sponge. Joe Berg may have been the very first dealer to market sponges in his magic shop in Chicago. Louis Ganson wrote in his book Routine Manipulation Finale, copyright 1954, "To the best of Milbourne Christopher's knowledge, the earliest description of a trick using sponge balls is Phantom Balls by Jesse Lieberger in the October 1926 issue of the Linking Ring magazine." Other magicians whose names have been associated with the early days of sponge ball magic include Laurie Ireland, Al Stevenson, Larry Weeks, Al Cohen, Martin Gardner, and of course, Albert Goshman. There have been countless developments over the last several decades, and in this video series, I'm going to share with you the best of the best ideas. The basic concept is very simple. Sponge is collapsible, and spectators cannot determine how many they're holding if their hand is tightly closed. If, for example, a spectator believes that they're holding 1 ball when actually they're holding 2, you can cause another ball to apparently vanish and appear inside of their closed hand. Magic that happens inside a spectator's hand is the strongest magic there is. The fundamental move in sponge ball magic is the false transfer, or the pass. Hand number 1 pretends to transfer a ball into hand number 2, but actually the ball is secretly retained in hand number 1. When hand number 2 is opened, it will appear as if the ball has vanished. Now, I'll teach you the specific details later, but first I'd like you to understand some of the basic principles that will help make your false transfers as deceptive as possible. 1, look at the hand that is supposed to contain the ball. In other words, it would be very bad to pretend to put the ball here, but look at the hand that really contains the ball. In fact, you don't even want to think about the dirty hand. Don't feel guilty. I've seen some magicians do the pass. The ball's supposed to be here, it's really here, but they feel guilty, so they try to hide it or put it behind their back. Big mistake. The action of transferring should be smooth and continuous. I like to think of this little toy that's called Newton's balls, or Isaac Newton balls, where one ball hits the other and then it comes back like this. That's how you do the transfer. You start with the ball in one hand, you transfer it, and you continue the action. In other words, you don't want to break up the action by showing a ball here, pausing for a moment or two, and then continuing. That's very suspicious. So just keep it smooth from one hand to the other. Now, the hand that is supposed to contain the ball should look like it might actually contain a ball. In other words, it should be puffed out a little bit. In other words, if you take a 3-inch sponge ball, apparently put it in your hand, you don't want your left hand to be closed in a tight fist because it couldn't possibly hold a ball if it was like that. So puff it out as if the ball could actually be in there. Another point is that you must believe the ball is in the hand you claim. If you really believe or try to make yourself believe that the ball is there when it isn't, your body language, your intangible, nonverbal communication will actually show through, and that's a very convincing touch. Now, Slidini was a master of this. He would pick a coin up off the table, actually letting it slide into his lap, but he would look at the audience and he'd hold the coin right up like this. You would almost see the coin in his hand even though it wasn't there. So if you truly believe or you act as if the coin is really there, your body language will convey that message as well. Now, you will need to consider several possibilities and make conscious choices when it comes to performing magic with sponge balls. You will need to answer these questions for yourself. 1, will you be performing standing or sitting? 2, will you be performing with or without a table? 3, will you be performing with or without a coat? 4, will your audience be only in front of you or will you be surrounded? 5, what size ball should you use? Well, actually, here's one question I can help you answer. I suggest you start with smaller balls, like 1 inch or maybe 1.5 inch, and then progress to the larger sizes. Remember, the larger your props are, the more visible the effect. Ultimately, with all other considerations being equal, the largest size that you can handle deceptively would be the best size to use. Now remember, it's much better to perform a routine with small balls well than with larger balls poorly. You could, of course, begin any routine by simply removing the props from your pocket or your case, but let's begin this session with a few methods of magically producing a ball. This first technique is called Pop by Tom Jorgensen. Very simple. Hold your hand, snap, there's a ball. That's all there is to it. It's very simple to do, but there's a few things to keep in mind. First, the setup is you fold the ball in half, sort of like a taco, and then you fold it into quarters like this, and you finger palm it in a special way. The 2 middle fingers hide the folded ball. The index finger and the little finger are pointing straight to the audience. The thumb is about 2 inches or so above the 2 middle fingers. So you rest like a finger palm. When you're ready for the production, you put your hand like this, snap here, and just release these 2 middle fingers, and there's the ball. Now make sure you don't move the little finger or the index finger or the thumb. It's supposed to be an instant visual production. So it's just the middle fingers that move out of the way. So once again, you have your hand, you show your hand like this, snap, there's the ball. All right, that's all there is to it. Here's a production known as invisible particles. The idea is very simple. You just pluck invisible particles from different parts of the table or different parts of the air, put them in your hand, give a little blow and a squeeze, they turn into a ball. That's a pretty simple thing. A couple of tips. First, you just finger palm the ball in your right hand. That's it. That's your setup. So you could say you're looking for a ball, you don't have it. Oh, I'll produce one by magic. Here's the deal. Your left hand is open, your right hand picks up invisible particles and places them into the left hand. Now, as you're doing this, when you reach for one of the particles, you just roll the ball to the tips of the fingers, so secretly you transfer the ball from your right hand into your left. The audience doesn't know that. All they know is you take an invisible particle, another invisible particle, and after you've transferred the ball, then you take a few more, letting the audience see that your right hand is empty. When you're ready for the production, you go like this, boom, there's the production. Now, how to not transfer the ball. You really don't want to get into the habit of having the ball finger palmed in your right hand and then plucking the invisible particles with the first finger and thumb, and then when you're ready for the transfer, make a big move out of it. It would be a lot easier in the act of reaching for the particle. You roll the ball to the tips of the fingers. So now it's not really in a finger palm anymore. It's at the tips of the fingers, and it's a lot easier to transfer to the other hand. Remember, reach for a few more, showing the right hand empty, and there it is. Okay? Mark Leveridge from England, he has a great idea. It's called the mobile dust collector. His method is similar, but the best part about it is you don't have to do a secret transfer. What he does, he starts with the ball secretly finger palmed. He says, I have this close-up mat is a mobile dust collector. All I have to do is pick up little pieces of dust like this, put them in the other hand, blow on it, rub the hands together, and they turn into a ball. Well, now that's a good idea because, like I said, there's no secret transfer. If you've got the ball in a finger palm here, you could take as many pieces of invisible dust as you want. When you're ready for the production, you just blow, and then you rub the 2 hands together. Well, that's a very easy way to get the ball to appear. All right? That's it. Here's a nice variation of the invisible particles production. You start this time by showing the hands first. Then you pluck the invisible particles from different parts of the table. And when you're ready, you produce the ball. Now in the same way, you could take this ball, Just grab it like this, back into the invisible particles. Now to do this, you need a very special gimmick, and you're looking right at it. It's called the Sonata gimmick, and what it is this. Let me show you how it comes when you buy it at the local magic store. They're like fake fingers. And what you need to do is you need to cut it with scissors so it fits your hand perfectly. What you want to do is have one side of the gimmick right at the base of the fingers, the two middle fingers. The other end is right where the fingers curl in. So that's where you hide it, right like this. Okay? Now if you use your thumb to open up that like a little trap door, you can put something inside, like a super soft sponge ball, close the trap door, hold it in place with the fingertips, and I always look at the other hand, not the hand that's got the gimmick. So you show your hands apparently empty. You pick up the invisible particles. On one of the transfers, you just open up the trap door secretly, transfer the ball, and then continue with a few more particles, and then you produce the ball. Now to make the ball vanish, you do the same thing basically, but in reverse. You open your hand, that opens up the trap door with your thumb, and as you do that secretly, you apparently take the ball, but the ball's now going underneath the Sonata gimmick. You close up the gimmick, and it looks like the ball just vanishes right at the tips of the fingers. Now, Dan Garrett from Atlanta, Georgia, he's got a wonderful handling on this. That's very nice. Instead of doing the invisible particles production and the transferring of the ball, he starts by showing an invisible ball at the tips of his fingers. And then he transfers it from hand to hand, and without stopping, it just slowly becomes visible. Now, what that is this. You've got the ball, of course, hidden underneath the Sonata gimmick. You show the hand like this, which is kind of nice because it looks like you're showing an invisible ball, but the audience sees apparently a completely empty hand. Then you transfer the invisible ball from hand to hand, and without stopping, you just open up, grab the ball, and slowly let the ball become visible. And that's the production by Dan Garrett using the secret Sonata gimmick. Here's a production made popular by Albert Goshman. He used to call it a pocketbook. He says, I have a pocketbook. And he'd reach into his pocket and say, oh, that's a pocketbook. It's a Las Vegas purse, that's what some people call it, but it holds sponge balls. Great way to do a quick production. Now to do this, it's very simple. It's all misdirection. One 2-inch ball is in your left coat pocket, the purse frame in the right coat pocket. Your hands are empty. You say, I have a pocketbook or a purse. Both hands go into both pockets at the same time, as if you're not sure where you put it. Your right hand comes out first with the purse frame. That's the misdirection. Everybody's going to look there. Then you casually bring out your left hand from the pocket secretly with the ball concealed. You shake it, you look at it, you hold it between both hands if you want to. Then, when you're ready for the production, you just open up your left hand. You grab the purse frame at the bottom pretty much by the thumb and middle finger. You open it up, reach inside, you pull it out. That's all there is to it. Well, a little variation. Albert, when he did this, he would actually steal out 3 balls all at the same time, and he'd put his hand flat on the table. I remember that, and he'd reach in there. If you have a table, if you like that, that's a perfectly good way to do it. I usually work without a table or I'm standing up, so I say I have a little something, both hands go in, you show this, that's good misdirection. You just put it in the other hand, you reach in, you take it out. Now, if you're going to do more than one sponge ball, you can either produce them one at a time, or you could just produce all 3 at the same time. Now, Slidini had a completely different method for doing the purse frame production. He'd start by bringing out the frame, the hands are empty. He'd say, do you see anything? You don't see anything, you don't hear anything. Do you hear anything? And he'd go to the person on his right. They wouldn't hear anything either. He says, oh, that's because they don't make any noise. They're soft, they're made of sponge. Now, because this is done by Slidini, chances are pretty good you've guessed it uses the lap. Slidini was a master of using his lap as a servante. What he'd do is just put a ball in his lap. This would be over here. Hands are empty. He reaches inside, pulls this out. So this is nice because it's on the table. The hands are empty. You listen. You don't hear anything. In the act of taking this purse frame and going to a person on your right, letting them listen, he says, I don't hear anything. Do you hear anything? Did you see what happened? The left hand goes from here, which is sort of like chest level or stomach level, and he goes over to here. It just drops into the lap, and I pick up one of the sponge balls. You don't hear anything? No. And in coming back, he comes back, the hand comes out of the lap and grabs one side of the purse frame. In other words, you don't want to have the ball hidden in your hand and your hand just there vulnerable. You want it to be holding something. So once again, you have the purse frame. You say, I don't see anything. You don't hear anything. Do you hear anything? No? This hand grabs that. Then you say, well, that's because it doesn't make any noise, and you do that. Now, sometimes Slidini would start to put the purse frame away and say, oh, wait, I forgot, I need two. And he would take out a second ball like this. That's kind of a nice thing. You start with two balls in your lap. So after you do the first production, like this, as I've explained, he pretends like he's going to start to put the frame away, and in doing that, oh wait, he just reaches into the lap, grabs out the second ball, brings this back, same position, reach inside, pull it out, and there's ball number 2. And that's Slidini's handling. Here's a little technique I like to call Daryl's method. The hands are empty, just the purse frame. You see nothing, you hear nothing. You open it up like this, and voila, a ball of sponge. Now this is an opening bit because the preparation is you take a smaller ball, a 1.5-inch size. This is a super soft ball. The preparation is you have to roll it between your first 2 fingers and thumb until it's as small as you can possibly get it. Just like that. That's the idea. Then that is where you hold the purse frame. So it really looks like your hand is completely empty except for the purse frame at the tips of the fingers. Now, if you want to start with this and your hands are empty, you could reach into both pockets as if you're looking for something. As you pull this out, the right hand is rolling the ball as tightly as I can get it, and immediately take over the purse frame like that. So now you can show your hand's empty, the purse frame is empty, there's nothing to see. When you transfer it to here, you just hold the ball like this secretly. The index finger and thumb now could open the purse frame, show it empty one more time. And what happens is as you reach into the frame with the right hand, you just roll this to the tips of the fingers like that, let it expand, and there's the production. Okay? So that's from this very, very tight little squeeze. The hands look empty except for the purse frame. You open it up, they see it's empty. You reach inside, pull out the ball. Here are a few miscellaneous purse frame ideas. This first thing is by Johnny Paul. Great idea. If you have the ball finger palmed in, say, your left hand, the hand that holds the purse frame as it's opened, and you make the production from there. He has this idea where he sticks the 3 middle fingers in the purse frame like this, gives a quick flash to the audience first, then does the magic, then does the production. It almost looks as if you're showing the inside of your hands, the inside of the purse frame, completely empty before the production. A nice thing about the purse frame also is that if you have another ball in your pocket, like this, after you use the purse frame to make a production, just in the act of putting the purse frame away, you could secretly steal another ball. So that gives you a reason to get one extra step ahead. This next thing is by Tony Slidini, so you might have guessed it uses the lap. Now the idea is quite simple. You have the purse frame. What he would do is he would produce 3 balls, but he only needs 2 for the routine. So he'd take one of the balls, put it back in the purse frame, and then just make it disappear. Now this is called the direct lap. What you do basically is just drop the ball right into your lap. Of course, your hand is here at the edge of the table, and this is important. Make sure that your hand is on the table. I've seen some people do this and their hand is almost on the table, but just that's not going to work. It's got to be right against the table, and that's the hand that's holding the purse frame. So you open up the frame, you pick up the ball, your hand is on the table, you put it directly into your lap, you bring your hands up. Personally, I like to close this hand as if it's holding the ball, and then just kind of casually put the purse frame down like that. That's the Slidini touch. Now, Ray Grismer, he had a great idea. What he would do is this, completely different from anything else. He'd open up the purse frame, away from the table, put the ball inside like this, close it up, pass it like that, the ball's gone. What this is, it's the old thimble move. Normally you'd have a thimble on your finger, pull it in, thumb palm it, go like that. Same idea with the sponge ball. Bring in both fingers, thumb palm it, reach out, and it's thumb palmed like that. So here's what Ray Grismer would do. Show the purse frame, open it up, pick up the ball between the first 2 fingers. As it goes inside of the purse frame, what happens is the fingers secretly curl in, thumb palm the ball, extend again, and then the left fingers close around those 2 fingers as if they took the ball out. The ball's actually here. Finger palm it as you close the frame, pass the frame over the hand, and show the vanish. That is by Ray Grismer. On the Essentials in Magic video on sponge ball magic, I taught a few ways to magically split one ball into two. I'll quickly go over them again here, but I'd like to add a new element that'll make these methods even more effective. The first method was just to pick up the ball, blow on it, and slowly separate it into two balls. Another method was to have this hidden in the hand, just pick it up, blow on it, twist it first, which is a nice thing, and the audience can see it almost visibly split into two. Rather than just splitting it into two slowly, another method is to pick it up like this, blow on it, and tear it into two pieces, and then allow each half to grow into a full ball. And my favorite was this method, the sawing a ball in half. You pick up the ball, blow on it, put it down on the table, and right in front of the audience's eyes, your index finger separates it into two complete balls. Now here's the new element. It's a technique called the shuttle pass. Let's say you just produced one ball from the purse frame, then in the act of putting the purse frame back in your pocket, you secretly steal out another ball. The audience doesn't know about this. What you want to do is to split this ball into two, but you want to show your hands empty first. This is the take shuttle pass. And the technique is very simple. You pretend to take the ball. This is a take, where you have a ball in one hand, you take it with the other. Not to be confused with a put. A put is where you have a ball in one hand and you put it in the other. There is a subtle difference. That's a take, that's a put. Now for the take shuttle pass, you pretend to take the ball, but actually you have a second ball hidden in your hand like this. Your right fingers extend, the thumb holds the ball against the back of the fingers. The fingers push the ball down into the left hand. The left hand closes and turns palm down, finger palming this ball. The right hand opens and turns palm up, showing the other ball. So it should look like you're just picking the ball up and taking it to the other hand. So that's a take. So you want this action to look exactly the same as the fake action. Okay? So once again, this ball is hidden in the hand. You have apparently just one ball. Your hands are apparently otherwise empty. You put them both together now, and you do your split and your production of the second ball. The put shuttle pass is exactly the opposite. You start with an extra ball hidden, in this case, in your left hand. Your right hand has a ball, and it's going to look like your right hand puts the ball into the left hand. But what it does is it just goes like this, hides it in the right hand, show the ball in the left hand, and put it down. So this is the take, this is the put. They're both shuttle passes. They both accomplish exactly the same thing. But that's a great set of moves to practice. What I would suggest is you practice both of them and just decide for yourself which of the two you prefer. I personally prefer the take because I'm just used to doing this, throwing the ball in the air and then splitting it into two, and they both serve you well. There are many specific techniques for performing a wide variety of false transfers. I'll show you a few, including my favorite, which I explained on the Essentials in Magic Sponge Balls video. First, a little something called the nip and tuck vanish, also known as the no skill vanish, because it uses no skill. Very simple to do. You take the ball, place it in your hand, close your hand, that puppy's gone. What you do is you just pinch the top of the ball between the index finger and the thumb like this. You place it right at the tips of the fingers of your palm up left hand. That's pretty easy. You use your right hand in a way to sort of close your left fingers. And in doing that, of course, the ball goes into the hand. Because you have it pinched, you just never let go. You never let go, you just bring your hand out. That brings the ball out. So at regular speed, it looks like it goes here, it looks like it goes there. You do this, and then it's gone. Now, once you take the ball out with your right hand secretly, like this, in the act of putting your right hand down onto the table, you stop pinching it and you just curl your fingers in a little bit to give it a finger palm. So it looks like it goes there, it looks like it goes there, you finger palm it as it goes down, and then you show that it's gone. So that's it. The only variation I can think of on this particular handling is to put the ball in the left hand a little bit deeper. Now, if you want to put it closer to the palm of the hand instead of at the fingertips, the only thing you have to do is separate your right index finger from your middle finger. That way the left fingers could go between those two fingers, and that allows the ball to go right into the palm of the hand. The same thing exactly. The hand closes, the right hand moves out, but you have to be careful here because these fingers are separated. You don't want to pull your hand out this way and flash the ball. You've got to pull it out this way, finger palm it as it goes down to the table. So that's the regular way at the tips of the left fingers. And here's the other version where it goes a little deeper into the hand, but it's the same handling exactly. The next vanish is called the pickup vanish, also known as the fake take. Now, I think we talked about the shuttle pass a while back. The shuttle pass is a great move where you have two balls, remember, and you pretend to take it from one hand to the other, and actually you secretly switch balls. For this, all you do is just the first half of the shuttle pass, or you show your hands empty like this, pretend to pick it up, your right fingers press it down onto the hand, and it's gone. So it looks like you pick it up from your left hand into your right hand, you make the ball vanish from the right hand. Now, the vast majority of the false transfers that I use, I would start with the ball in the right hand, apparently put it in the left hand for the vanish. This is one of the very few exceptions. So what happens is you start with the ball in the palm up left hand, you pretend to pick it up with your right fingers like this. What you really do is your right fingers just press it down onto the left hand, so it's flat. The left hand finger palms the ball as it closes and turns palm down. At the exact same time, the right hand pretends to pick it up like this, crumples it into a fist, makes it disappear. So really, it's the first half of the shuttle pass, and you make the ball vanish from your right hand. Now it's time for my very favorite false transfer. I call it the simple pass. It's the simplest pass of all. I use this more than any other false transfer. I use it more often than retention vanishes, just because it's very simple and very natural. You start with the ball like this. You just take it from one hand, put it in the other, and make it disappear. It's just that simple. Now, I learned this from a coin book by Al Schneider. It's called Al Schneider on Coin Magic, I believe. And he said, take a coin, put it in your hand, pretend to put it in your other hand. You just don't let go with your thumb. That's all you have to remember. The right hand turns palm down. Your thumb is holding it against the backs of the fingers. Your left hand turns palm up to apparently receive the ball. Your left fingers close as the right hand just moves away. And when it moves away, it's still holding the ball, so the ball comes with it. But at regular speed, it looks like you just put the ball there, it's there, you look there, of course, you pretend it's there, you massage it, and then you make it vanish. Like always, remember, after the false transfer, the ball that's secretly hidden in the dirty hand, it is finger palmed. You don't want to bring your hand away with your thumb missing and stiff like that. So do this, finger palm it as you move it down to the table, or your side, or wherever it goes. So that's it. Just pretend to put it there, and it's gone. I love that pass because it's just simple, natural. Practice it over and over again until it becomes second nature, and it may very well be your false transfer favorite as well. There is an entire category of false transfers known as retention passes. Now, these are particularly deceptive because the audience believes they actually see the ball in the receiving hand after the hand has closed. Now, this is possible due to a principle known as the retention of vision. And this is actually how movies work. Several individual pictures are seamlessly blended together to create the illusion of movement. Basically, what happens is one image is retained by the eye for a moment until another image takes its place. Allow me to demonstrate. Watch closely. You see the ball, you see it go into the hand, you see the hand close, you know it's there, and then it's gone. That's it. That's the retention pass. Now, there's a few things to keep in mind here. This is the Bobo coin vanish. If you read in the Bobo book on coin magic, Modern Coin Magic is its name, it says to hold a coin like this, put it there, close the fingers, and what happens is you just never let go of the coin. It looks perfect with sponge balls. You pinch the sponge ball with just the tip of the thumb and middle finger, place it into the palm of the left hand, palm to the audience. The left hand closes. In fact, some people, when they do this, they make a big thing about this. They freeze this position for just a moment to make sort of a visual image on the spectator's eye. Then they'll close just the bottom two fingers like this, keeping this image now. What happens is if you close the entire hand around the ball, your right hand can just move down and pull the ball out. Now, of course, if you were to do this, everybody would see it, right? That's not a good retention. So what you do is you pull the ball out, but your right hand just turns a little bit so the back of the hand shields the fact that the ball comes out. You're still just pulling it out, but you just shield it like this and then move down. So there's the ball, there's the hand, it goes inside, you point to it if you want to, that puppy's gone. A few other things that you could do with this is you could place the ball higher up in the hand. I know some people that do this. They don't place it into the palm. They actually put it a little bit higher for some reason. I think that might help the illusion of the retention, perhaps. My favorite thing to do with this particular handling is to fake the audience out. I say something like, well, one day I saw a magician, he did a great trick. He took a ball, he placed it in his hand, he rubbed it, and it looked like the ball was gone, but actually he had it hidden behind his thumb. Oh, that was a great idea. Have it hidden behind the thumb like this, and if you practice, you can actually go like that. Huh? That's all it is. The retention vanish. Hope you like it. Okay, so I cheated, but just a little bit. What I did the first time is actually place it behind the thumb. By the way, this is known as the back thumb clip. The second time, I did the Bobo coin vanish, which is this, same thing as I showed you before. The hand covers it, you pull it out. So I had it in my hand. Of course, I did cheat just a little bit, even though I'm standing up. Sponge balls are soft. They don't make any noise when they hit the floor. So that's what I did. I put it here, pretending to put it in the back thumb clip. I steal it out, point. As soon as my hand touched the table, I just let the ball drop into the floor like this. It's gone, it's gone. Voila. There are so many different sizes, shapes, and colors of various sponge products that it's difficult to know where to begin. So let me show you these, and then I'll focus in on one specific trick. Now there's all different kinds of colors, all different sizes, little tiny balls, big giant balls. These are little sponge rabbits. Of course, this is my personal favorite set of sponge bunny rabbits because it looks like a bird and it looks like a rabbit, and then you do a secret transposition where it looks like a rabbit and a bird, and then you end up with the little baby bunnies. There's hearts, there's diamonds, clubs, and spades. These are nice. If you don't want to use balls, these will actually not roll off the table. The same with the stars. These are kind of nice. You just put them on the table. Don't have to worry about them rolling off. These are good. The big number 4, the big number 1. The routine being you put 2 or 3 in the hand and you say, I'm going to make them all disappear. Well, except for 1. How many do you have? And they'll say, I've got 4 balls in my hand. You say, no, I think you've just got 1. And of course, when they open their hand, there's a big giant number 1. This is a good thing. This is the classic clown nose. It's a sponge ball with a slit. So all you have to do is go like that. It's a natural. So you could take the ball or the sponge nose and make it disappear. You could do a whole sponge ball routine using a nose. Now here's something a lot of magicians didn't know, but you can also use these noses for your ears. So you can apply them to your ears like this, and now you've got 2 balls to work with. If you want to do a 3-ball routine, you can go like that. If you really want to get into this, you can actually do this. Take 2 more, place them with your eyeglasses like that. So you have 5 balls. You go up to the table if you're working restaurants, and basically you could work off your face. So that's always good for a laugh. So that's just a few of the various sponge products that are available. Also remember that for maximum visibility, the color you use should be a good contrast to the color of your clothes and the color of your performing surface. Another consideration as to your clothing is your pockets. Now make sure that you have all the necessary pockets required for the particular routine that you're going to perform. Often, but not always, instead of relying on coat pockets, you might be able to work out of your trousers pockets, particularly if they're loose and easy to get into and out of. How do you choose the sponge ball that is right for you? That's a good question. I would suggest you begin with the 1.5 or the 2-inch size in the standard red color. Now the 1.5-inch size is pretty good for basic technique. The 2-inch size might be a little bit big if your hands are particularly small, but red is a good color to start with because it's particularly forgiving when it comes to accidentally giving the audience a flash of the ball when it's someplace it shouldn't be. The 2-inch ball, if you try this and you find out it's too big for your hands, then just move down to the 1.5-inch size, and vice versa. If you're doing tricks with the 1.5-inch size and it feels a little bit too small, it's certainly easy enough to move up to the 2-inch size. These are great sizes to begin with. Now, generally speaking, with everything else being equal, for visibility, you should probably use the biggest size that you can handle deceptively. And that's the key word, deceptively. If you're doing moves and you're leaking or flashing with a larger ball, move down a notch. That's pretty much all there is to it. Here's a lovely thing by John Tremaine. It uses a little black plastic box. And if you look inside the black box, you'll find a red box. And inside of the red box is a ball. Now what's interesting is that the black box could actually fit inside of the red box like this. That's pretty weird. Then you could actually take this little ball like this, make it disappear, fly through the air invisibly, and it lands inside of the innermost box, just like this. And that's all there is to it. It's called ball in Gazinta box. For this you need 2 balls, 2 1-inch balls. They should be the same size, the same color. These Gazinta boxes are very interesting. This is called the inner-outer boxes set, is they are made in such a way that one will fit inside the other. You could put the black one on the inside, the red on the outside, or just as easily, you can do it the opposite way by closing the red box first and putting it inside the black one. It's just the way they're made. So the setup is quite simple. What I would do is I would take the 2 smaller pieces of each box, put 1 ball in each, like this and like this. All right? All you have to do is close one box like that, and then push this ball into the lid. That would be the lid of the outer box, like that. So it looks like you just have the box. When you open this up, all you have to do is make sure that you turn this with the hidden ball inside downward. Okay, so that if you don't do it up, you don't let the audience see the ball. Just turn it downwards. Open this one, take out the little ball, but when you put the boxes back together, you do it in the opposite way. You close the black box first, put it inside of the red box, leave it in full view on the table, then you make this ball disappear any way you want. If you're sitting down, you might as well put it in your lap. It's gone, your hands are empty. Or you can let the spectator open up the innermost box, and inside they will find, apparently, the vanished ball. This trick is called ball to coin. So I suppose you know exactly what's going to happen. You start with the ball, put it in the hand. Oh, I forgot, you have to squeeze it. That's right, you have to squeeze it until it becomes a silver dollar. Now this is very simple. It's the Bobo switch. Very, very classic move in coin magic. The only difference is you do it with a sponge ball to a coin. So you start with a silver dollar or a rock or a seashell or whatever you want to change the ball into is finger palmed in the right hand. Nice thing about the coin is it's flat, so you can use a little something called the Ramsey subtlety. And that is, it's a way of showing your hand apparently empty. They could see the palm of the hand without exposing the hidden coin. So if you're holding something else in the same hand, like a sponge ball, it looks perfectly good. Usually I'll transfer it over to the left hand once, not doing the Bobo switch, and then I'll do it the second time, say, oh yeah, you have to squeeze it, and then it changes. The Bobo switch is quite simple. You hold this in the finger palm, you pick up the ball, it's pinched between the thumb and first finger like this, and if you hold on to the ball and move your hand with a little jerk, it's inertia, and you let go with the little finger and the coin will actually go. That's it. So you have this hidden here, you pick this up, and it's a switch. So practice that several times until you can do it without even thinking about it. You just pinch the top of the ball, move your hand, and then finger palm the ball as it rests on the table. That's basically all there is to the Bobo switch. So you start like this, you show the ball, do it once, nothing happens. You say, oh yeah, you have to squeeze it, and then it changes. Suffice to say that if you happen to have a finger ring on your left hand, as I do, you need to be careful. You don't want to make any unnecessary noises. So what I would suggest, one of two things: either aim for a completely different part of your hand as far away from the ring as possible, or if you prefer, you could use a smaller coin. Another method for doing the ball to coin is the old Spellbound thing. Spellbound is great. It's in the Stars of Magic, which is a wonderful, wonderful book. It's normally done with a $50 and an English penny. So you change a coin from silver to copper, silver to copper. But here, you start with this finger palmed, you show the sponge ball, and all you do is you rub the sponge ball and it changes to a coin. You rub it back, it changes back to the ball. You can do this over and over again. Eventually, you want to bring this to a finish, so you can show it like this, you can show it like this, and apparently the hands are empty. That is basically spellbound. So the coin starts in the finger palm, the ball is in the palm up left hand, middle finger and thumb are holding the ball like this. All that happens is as the right hand covers the ball, you open up a little bit, you thumb clip the ball like this, and as the right hand moves away with the thumb palmed ball, you just leave the finger palmed coin in its place like that. That's it. Now, as soon as the right hand moves away, the right hand moves down to the table. It goes from the thumb palm into the finger palm. Now, because the ball now is in the finger palm, you're ready to repeat the change. Same idea, you thumb palm the coin. And the thumb palming of the coin is this. You clip it with the top of your thumb against the base of your index finger. You leave the ball in its place. The right hand moves away. So now the coin is thumb palmed, and like the sponge ball just a moment ago, as the right hand rests on the table, the coin is transferred from the thumb palm to the finger palm. So that's all you do. Do this in front of a mirror over and over again. Turn the coin over once in a while. That's kind of a fun thing to do. Okay? So you change it from the coin to the ball, from the ball to the coin. Eventually, when you're ready to finish, here's a little something I saw Fred Capps perform. On the last change from the coin into the ball, instead of stealing the coin with the thumb palm of the right hand, you just allow the coin to drop into your left hand. So it's here, you let it drop, and you put the ball in its place. This way you could show your right hand is empty. That's a nice touch. And then to show apparently both hands empty, you do a little something called the Gary Kurtz transfer, something I read in a book by Gary Kurtz. Great idea. He does it with a stack of coins. But for this, it's just one coin. So here's what you do. The last sequence, remember, you've got the coin here. You let it drop as you leave the ball in its place. All the attention at this point will probably be on the right hand because you've never really shown the right hand empty between changes. So here you just casually show it and then place the ball here. So remember, the coin is in the finger palm of the left hand, and here's the change. As you put the sponge ball back into the left hand, what you're really going to do secretly is transfer the coin from the left hand to the right hand. It sounds more complicated than it is. And here's a little tip. This coin is not in a deep finger palm. It's actually not flat against the fingers. It's lifted up a little bit, so there's some space between the bottom of the coin and the fingers. That's important because what's going to happen is as the right hand places the sponge ball into the left hand, the right thumb is going to hook onto that coin and steal it. Okay? So if this is flat against your fingers, it's going to be pretty hard to pick it up. But if it's moved up a little bit away from your fingers, so there's a little space, it's a lot easier to pick up with the thumb. Okay? So here's the move. You show this. As you place the ball into the left hand, the right thumb is just going to reach there, grab the coin, and take it. Now that sounds pretty complicated, but after you do it a few times, it's really pretty simple, and it looks very nice. It looks like you just show the hands empty, except for the ball. And that is a couple of methods for doing the sponge ball to coin illusion. This trick is so easy to do, it's almost embarrassing. It's a little mystery with the sponge ball. You place it on top of the left fist. All you do is poke it inside like that, a little bit of magic, and the ball will change itself into a cube, just like that. Virtually self-working. It's a very special cube. It looks like a regular old sponge cube, but actually it's hollow. And it is made so that you can actually turn it inside out, like that, pushing all the corners on the inside, and it creates the illusion of a ball. Now, it's not exactly the same as this ball, but it's close enough, especially if you hide the bottom part. So I would hide it with the fingers, hold the other ball pretty much the same way. So it looks like two balls. You put one down. This ball you place on top of the left fist, like this. So you make a fist, put this corner part inside like that. So it looks like you just rest the ball on top of the fist. When you poke it in with your index finger of the right hand, you're just turning it inside out again, which makes it right side in, right side out, and it looks like the ball changes into a cube. You could do the trick by itself like that, or for fun, you could start with this turned inside out and have this inside of your left pocket, for example, here. Now you could take a second ball, which is just a regular ball, make this disappear, and it says, it jumps from the hand and it lands in the pocket. Now, when you reach into the pocket with this hand, you leave the real ball behind and you bring out this ball, which is the fake ball that's going to turn into the cube. You say, I'll do it again. Watch closely. If you missed it the first time, I'll do it very slowly. The ball goes in the hand. Once again, it's going to vanish from the hand, land in the pocket. Yep, I just felt it arrive. Now you pull this out first and say, and there it is. That's twice in a row. And if you want to, you could let a little bit of this expose, and the audience will say, wait a minute, I see that ball still in the hand. You say, oh, no, that's not the baffling ball trick. That's the confusing cube. That's an entirely different mystery. And of course, all this is you vanish the first ball. As you reach into your pocket, you pull out this. You turn this inside out as you pull it in your hand. You take this one out, and then for your super sacco finish, you show it's changed into a cube. Now, I started thinking about this trick. I said, that is a good idea, that transposition. How about if we somehow get a hold of a real cube that is not hollow and a real ball? This way you could start clean. So here's the idea. You turn this inside out, giving the illusion of the ball. You hide this in your right hand. You start with a real cube and a real ball on the table. And now you do a transposition this way. Nothing in your left hand. As you pick up the real ball, you switch it for the fake ball. So I've got the real ball here. That's the fake ball, which you put right on top. Then you say, and the real cube. Well, you don't say the real cube, but you take the cube, put it in your pocket like this, and you say, watch. I'm going to make them change places, the cube and the ball. All you do is you poke this in, turning it inside out, and you say, there it goes. The ball has vanished from my hand. It's landed in my pocket. Pull this out first and show that the ball is in the pocket. Then for the big finish, you show that the cube has flown somehow from the pocket into your hand. And that is a very nice handling for the transposition of the ball and the cube. Routine development. This is one of my favorite subjects, and quite honestly, I suppose I could talk for hours on this topic alone. Basically, your routine should progress. It should build. Study the books like Magic and Showmanship by Henning Nelms and Strong Magic by Darwin Ortiz. These are classic books on presentation. Now, you do not need to perform the specific tricks, but you do need to understand the principles that the tricks illustrate. And above all else, remember to finish strong. Here's a quick routine called Sponge Away by Stephen Tucker. Nothing in the hands, just 3 balls and 2 spectators. Now, I'm going to use these bowls to represent the spectators' hands, okay? The only other thing you need is a chopstick. I happen to have one right here. So the mystery is very simple. You take 1 ball, hand it to one spectator. He holds it in his tightly clenched fist. The second ball goes into the magician's hand. The third ball goes into the third spectator's hand. Now, all you have to do is tap here, tap there. The ball vanishes from the magician's hand, and it lands inside of the spectator's hand like that. Pretty good, but there's more to come. Here's the first ball, here's the second ball. You tap it once for the first ball, twice for the second ball. That makes the 2 balls vanish, and the spectator has all 3. That's it. Pretty simple, pretty direct, and I love this idea because you are so far ahead, it's not even funny. What you need are 3 balls, 2 extra balls, and the extra balls are kept with the magic wand or the chopstick or whatever you're going to use to do the magic. That's off to the side. Now, it doesn't have to be off to the side. You could just as easily put it in your pocket, just someplace where you can get to it with your right hand. So you start without the spectator's hands. I'm just going to use my hands and the table. So 3 balls, nothing else. After you've established exactly what you're using, then you reach for the chopstick. You secretly steal out the extra 2 balls like this, okay? So you say 3 balls. What I'm going to do is ask you to hold on to 1. So actually, you're giving the spectator on your left all 3 balls, but that spectator believes that he only has 1 in his tightly clenched fist. The second one, you pretend to put it in your hand. You do a false transfer. So it's actually here, not here. And for the other spectator on your right, you take the 2, put them in their hand as 1. So everybody believes that they have 1 ball. 1 ball here, apparently, 1 ball here, and the magician has a ball. But then you tap here, tap there. First ball vanishes from the magician's hands, and the spectator opens his hand. Of course, he's now got 2. That is a great trick. You're about to repeat it, but this time with 2 balls. You do this one as a false transfer, the second one as a false transfer. So actually neither ball is in. You can tap them twice, make both of them disappear together. And of course, when the spectator opens his hand, he's got all 3. And that is Sponge Away by Stephen Tucker. This is called The First Routine by Frank Garcia. Once again, this will represent the spectator's hand. You start very simply. You just take out a ball like this, pick it up like this, and right in front of the audience's eyes, it splits into 2. So here's a fun thing. You put ball number 1 here. Ball number 2 joins ball number 1 like this, 1 in each hand. But if I give a little massage, the first ball jumps across. That leaves only 1 here and 1 here. Now, if you miss the first one, it's okay. I'll repeat the illusion. Watch closely. A little massage. There goes the second ball. So now there's none here and 2 balls there, which the spectator can examine completely. After they finished examining them, you say, pick a ball, any ball, whichever ball they point to. Let's say they point to this one. You very cleanly take the opposite ball, place it here. This one they get to hold on to. So they hold it in their tightly clenched fist. You take this, you do the magic move. Hup, it's gone. Into the spectator's hand, there's 2. Now, for a big finish, you say you hold on to both balls this time. I happen to have a 3rd ball in my pocket. You say a lot of magicians are accused of using their sleeves. Well, actually, we do use sleeves, but we don't use our own sleeves. We use your sleeves. What you do is you take this ball and you rub it onto the spectator's sleeve, and you make it disappear. It goes down through the arm, invisibly, into their fist. When they open their hand, of course, now they have all 3. That is quite a surprise. Now that's the end of part 1. Here's part 2. First ball goes in the hand. The second ball goes into the hand. The third ball goes into the pocket. But by magic, there's all 3 balls right here. Do it again. Ball number 1, ball number 2. The third ball goes into the pocket. A little bit of magic. And there's 1, 2, 3. You can do this over and over again. Eventually, you want to bring this to a big finish. So you put ball number 1 here. Ball number 2 here, and ball number 3 goes here as well. Oh no, actually ball number 3 goes into the pocket, and when you're ready for the big finish, ho, you've got nothing. Now this routine introduces a brand new move to you. It's called the pop-up move. Now I prefer to do the pop-up move with regular sponge balls and not the super soft balls. The reason for this is when I do the pop-up move, I want that ball to expand quickly. If you do it with a softer, super soft ball, it sometimes expands a bit too slowly. So here's what you do. The pop-up move is this. 2 balls, for example. 1 goes on the top of the fist. You just sort of pinch it a little bit so it doesn't roll off. Your index finger pushes it into the fist, but what you're really doing is it's not going deep into the fist, it's just being compressed. And then you hide it with your thumb. So you could actually open up the rest of the hand, but don't do that. The audience should believe the ball is deep in the fist. If you move your left thumb out of the way, the ball should pop back up into view. That's important. That's the pop-up move. That's why it has that name. So you push it in, cover it with your thumb. When you show a second ball, apparently you're going to put the second ball on top of the fist, just like you did the first ball. But what happens is the first ball becomes popped back up into view, and the second ball just stays behind the hand. So it looks like this, it looks like this. You pop this ball back up to the top of the fist, the right hand moves away, and so that should look like it's the second ball, and you poke that into the hand. So the audience believes there's 2 balls in this hand, actually there's 1 in each. So you say a little bit of magic, the first ball jumps across, now you can show there's only 1 remaining because the first ball has gone to the other hand. All right? That's the first one. Now you do a simple false transfer. You say the first one's already traveled, so there goes the second one, and now that one's gone from here to here. So that's the end of the first part. At this point, the audience examines the balls. As you step back, both hands go into the pockets, and you secretly finger palm an extra ball. Now this has got a little bit of misdirection built in. You say 2 balls, point to either one. Now whichever ball the spectator points to, let's say it's this one, you very cleanly take the opposite ball and place it into your left hand. That's the misdirection. While everybody's looking at the opposite ball, you say, but this is the one you picked, so hold on to this tightly. Now you're giving the spectator 2 balls secretly. They don't know that. Then you do a false transfer. You make it disappear. It's gone. The spectator opens his hand, and he's got 2. That is a big surprise. Now you say, well, do it again. This time hold both balls. I'll see if I can sneak one out. You could say that if you want to. Sometimes it's a good idea. You want the spectator to hold, apparently, the 2 balls very tightly, because actually they've got 3. Now you can show your hands empty, very cleanly take out the 3rd ball, any kind of false transfer. It's a good line about magicians are often accused of using the sleeves. Well, it's true, we do use sleeves, but we don't use our sleeves, we use your sleeves. You apparently rub the 3rd ball onto the spectator's sleeve, it vanishes, they open up their hand, and they've got all 3. That is a nice surprise as well. So you've done the first couple of phases, and secretly you have the extra ball hidden in your hand. Now it's time for the 2 in the hand, 1 in the pocket sequence. Here's what you do. Nothing in your left hand. Pick up ball number 1, secretly adding ball number 2 to it. It goes in your hand. So there's 2 balls there. So apparently that's 1 in the hand, 2 in the hand. The 3rd ball goes in the pocket. As soon as the hand goes into the pocket, you bring your hand out again, secretly with the ball. But the misdirection is you show the other 3 in the other hand. So it looks like it jumped from the pocket to the hand instantly. The audience does not know you have an extra ball. The only reason I'm using these smaller balls is because the original handling of this routine is to put in a move that I don't use personally, but I might as well include it just to give you all the details. By having the small ball hidden in your hand, you can roll your hand forward a little bit, curl your fingers inwards, and as you roll your hand backwards, what that does, it puts the ball secretly behind your fingers. Now you can do it again, but you can do the turnover move. So you can turn your hand palm up, it looks like it's empty. Actually, secretly, there's a ball hidden behind the fingers. So now you could say 2 balls in the hand, no question about it. The 3rd ball goes into the pocket, and in the Frank Garcia routine, what he would do is he would put the 3rd ball in the pocket for real, but his trousers pocket, and he'd put it up in the corner, the top corner. That way you can snap your fingers here. As your right hand turns down, you secretly add the extra ball. You say the ball vanished from your pocket. Because you put it in the upper corner, you can actually show the pocket. It looks like it really did vanish. And now you've got 1, 2, 3. So that's just an extra bit you might want to add. Personally, I don't do that because I don't feel real comfortable with it. But if you put the ball in your pocket and you say it just goes to your hand and there's 3. For the finish, you're going to use the pop-up move 2 times. The first ball goes on top of the fist. Pretend to push it in with your index finger. The second ball, you pretend to put it on top of your fist, but you do the pop-up move. So that's ball number 2. Apparently, of course, you've done the pop-up move. Push that in as well. Now on ball number 3, you pick it up. You can't throw it in the air and show it because you've got another ball hidden. So you just pick it up and pretend to put it on top. That looks like ball number 3. But because you did the pop-up move twice, you've got 2 balls secretly hidden in your right hand. That apparently is the 3rd ball, which very cleanly you pick up, put it in your pocket along with the other 2, and now you have a Super Sacco vanish of all 3 balls for your finish. That's the Frank Garcia routine. Balls through the table into the hat by Pat Page. Lovely trick, you just use a little hat, which you can borrow from somebody in the audience. You have 3 balls of sponge, 2 empty hands, and most importantly, a solid table. Now the idea is you take one of the balls, it goes underneath the table. In fact, you can hear it. And if I snap, oh, I think that's the first one. Yes, there's the first ball, right through the table. If you missed it, I will repeat the illusion. Ball number 2, just like the first one. Right through the table. Yep, there's 2 for 2. And the last one, watch closely. The last one goes the hard way. The hard way is without going through the table, even more impossible, through thin air from here to the hat. Boop! 3 balls and a hat. That's all there is to it. It's the one ahead principle, which is a lovely thing. And for this, of course, you need an extra ball. To start the trick, you've got 3 balls in view, 1 ball hidden in your hand, and that same hand is holding the hat. So it looks like the hat is empty. As you place the hat on the table, of course, you just load the first ball underneath. So that's pretty simple to do, like this to there. Your hands are empty. Your left hand picks up 1 ball. Your left hand goes under the table with the ball. You hit it a few times, and then as your right hand picks up the hat, all the attention should be on the ball underneath, and it just goes into the left hand, and the left hand loads the ball from underneath the table into the hat. So there's the first one. You can cover it up, you could show it, take the second ball, just like the first one, it goes under the table, boom, apparently right through the table, underneath the hat like this, and you've just loaded the 3rd ball. If If you want to give it one last shot, just 2 balls here, give it a quick show, do this. You could do the exact same thing with the third ball, or just for variety, you could do a false transfer and make it fly through thin air, or you could take it, place it in your pocket, and have it go from your pocket to the hat. Either way, you end up with 3 balls under the hat. Now that's the basic method. Another idea that I read in this book that was a little variation on the third one, instead of putting the third one under the table like this, you could put the third one under the table, but with your right hand at the edge of the table. Secretly, you transfer the ball like this to the thumb palm of the right hand. So the right hand is here at the edge. The third ball goes under the table, but when I go under the table, secretly, I come back and just stuff it right into the thumb palm position of the right hand. So here's the ball under the table. I'm thumb palming it now. It goes through. That way you could bring this hand out empty, lift this up, and there's apparently all 3 balls, and you finish clean. Well, when I read that, I said, that is actually a very good idea. Maybe we could do this for all of the balls. So here's a little variation on this ball through the table routine. It's basically the same trick, just a slightly different handling. So you start the same way with the extra ball here, 3 balls there, nothing in the hat, your hands are empty, you're already 1 step ahead. This time what you do is you leave your left hand at the edge of the table. The right hand takes a ball. Apparently it goes under the table, but you actually do this because I've transferred it to the secret thumb palm position. So now you show the first ball has gone through the table, and there it is. You see what's happening? You're another step ahead. As you put this down, you put the second ball there. Once again, the left hand rests at the edge of the table. The second ball, actually all 3 of them should be on this side probably, so you don't have to cross over. You take the second ball, goes underneath. Secretly, I'm placing it into the thumb palm position of the left hand, but this way you can show the next one's gone through. Your hand is empty. Just in the act of picking up the hat, you transfer it to your left hand, loading the third ball, and now you're ready for the big finish. And for the last one, you can vanish it in thin air, you can pass it through the table, or if you happen to have a big load, like a cantaloupe or something in your pocket or in your lap, you could take the last one, put it in your pocket, and as you show that it's gone to the hat, you steal out a big load of whatever you can fit in your pocket and put that into the hat. And that's a nice way to finish. Then for your super soccer finish, you can produce whatever it is you can sneak under your hat. And that is the sponge balls through the table into the hat by Pat Page. This is Frank Garcia's routine for beginners. Now, Frank Garcia suggests that you carry a matchbox, and inside of the matchbox you have 3 sponge balls. But I came across this giant capsule at a yard sale once, and I said, this is perfect for this particular routine. So what you do is you start with this, you hand this to a spectator, the spectator opens it, and inside they will find 3 sponge balls, and that's exactly what you need for this particular routine. Once again, this will represent the spectator's hand. They pick a ball, you hand them the ball, they hold it in their tight fist like that. You hold on to the other 2, that's number 1, that's number 2. A little bit of magic, one of the 2 balls vanishes from your hand and it lands inside of the spectator's hand. Then you say, I'll tell you what, you hold both balls this time, and I'm going to try to sneak one away. The only reason for saying that is so that they'll hold it extra tightly. Say, wait a minute, I have a better idea. I'll take ball number 3, make it vanish from my hand, and join the 2 in yours. So when the spectator opens his hand now, he's got all 3 balls. That's the end of phase 1. The next phase is the old 2 in the hand, 1 in the pocket. Ball number 1 goes into the hand, ball number 2 goes into the hand, ball number 3 goes into the pocket, but instantly it comes back. There's all 3 balls. I'll do it again. Watch closely. Ball number 1 in the hand, ball number 2 in the hand, ball number 3 into the pocket. Instantly, all 3 balls. You could do this over and over again, but you might have noticed I always put 2 in the hand, 1 in the pocket. Never the other way around. Never 1 in the hand and 2 in the pocket. If you do that, you'll end up with 50. Would you like to see 50? I'll show you 50. Right there, 50 cents. Oh! You walk away clean. So this last production could be anything you want. A variation would be to use a walnut or something like that. And you say, instead of would you like to see 50 cents, you say, oh, if you think this is a nutty trick, you're right. And you produce a walnut. But the setup is you have 4 balls altogether. Your final load, in this case the 50-cent piece, goes in the right coat pocket. you have a matchbox or any kind of container that will hold 3 of these balls. I use 1.5-inch size because they fit into this capsule perfectly. But if you're using a big box of matches, like kitchen matches, you could just as easily use 2-inch balls, whatever fits. So you put 3 inside of your container, and that's all in your pocket. As you bring out your container, you secretly have the 4th ball hidden. Okay, so you bring it out. The spectator opens it, and inside they find all 3 of the balls. When you put the container away with your left hand in your pocket, say for example, you don't have to steal anything because you've already got the extra ball here, so you're already a step ahead. The first step is to hand one of the balls to the spectator. As you do that, of course, you secretly add the extra ball like this. You say, hold on to it, hold it tightly. When the spectator holds it, they've actually got 2. You apparently are going to hold the other 2. You actually put the first one in your hand. In the act of putting the second one in your hand, you do a false transfer. So they think you've got 2, you really only have 1. You do the magic, you make one of the 2 apparently vanish from your hand, and it lands in the spectator's hand. So now they've got 2. In the act of giving them the 2 balls apparently back, you secretly add the 3rd ball. So now you're a step ahead again. For the big finish, you do this, you make this one disappear, and it's gone into the spectator's hand. They've got all 3. So that's the end of the first phase. The second phase is, as usual, the old 2 in the hands, 1 in the pocket sequence. You've got the extra ball here. You say 1 ball in my hand, that's actually 2. 2 balls in the hand, that's actually 3 now. The 3rd ball goes in the pocket. As soon as you put it in the pocket, immediately you show 3 in your hand. That's the misdirection for secretly bringing this ball out of your pocket like that. You do it again, say, watch, I'll repeat the illusion. 1 ball in the hand, that's 2. 2 balls in the hand, that's 3 now. 3rd ball goes in the pocket. This time you leave the ball in your pocket, show the 3 in your left hand, and you bring out the $50 or the walnut or whatever your final load's going to be. So when you put the 3rd ball away, you leave it behind and steal out your final load. Okay, so there's the misdirection. Now the last part is this. You might have noticed I always put 2 in the hand, 1 in the pocket. There's a reason for that. If I do it the opposite way, 1 in the hand, then you do the old Bobo switch like that. Oh, and yeah, remember, be careful. Don't let it hit your ring. 2 in the pocket. As you put these 2 in the pocket, you get rid of the 3rd ball that you held behind when you did the Bobo switch. For your Super Sacco finish, you show you have 50 cents, or if you think this is nutty, you're right, and there's a nut. And that is the Frank Garcia routine for beginners. Well, there you have a lot of great sponge ball magic to practice and perfect. If you liked what you've learned, remember, we have additional master class titles on this subject as well. You have just learned several of our valuable secrets, but remember, this is just the very first step. The rest is up to you. Go out and practice until you can perform these techniques flawlessly and without having to think about what you're doing. Remember, with a thorough understanding of the principles involved and with proper practice, even the simplest tricks could look like real magic. Good luck.